Hey gang, how's it going today? We are back with another video. Obviously, you're watching it. Uh, Today we are going to kind of pick up where we left off on our previous Starship designing. Today we're going to make a couple of space frames. One of them, like we did last time, going to be stock right out of the book. The other one we're going to play around a little bit and do some extrapolating and kind of adding on to what we've uh, got in Utopia Planitia. Everything's going to be out of Utopia Planitia today, though. So, let's see, this kind of follows on from the previous video we did. I'm going to, sorry, still trying to get used to this whole video thing. Try to remember what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm going to put a link up in this corner. Hi. Oh, dodgy special effects. I need to do something about that one of these days. Anyway, let's get into Utopia Planitia. The rules for creating a space frame start on, page 58. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to figure out what year the thing launched. For this first example, we are going to make a hospital ship in the late 23rd century. Because I kind of felt like my game was missing out on that the last time I played it at the table game. So we are going to do that. We're obviously the Federation. And the year we're doing it, the year my campaign was set, was 2295. So we start out with 40 system points. For every 10 years after that, you get an extra system point. So this ship is going to have a total of 49 to start with. And you got to choose a scale. We're going to make this a scale 4 ship like the Constitution class. And that's the baseline. That is the standard for designing the space frames in Star Trek Adventures. And so there's no change there. We've got 49 points with this particular ship. If it was a scale 3 ship, it would go down to 48. If it was a scale 5 ship, it would go up to 50. And the rules for that are all again in Utopia Planitia, and that's on page 56 where that starts. So to kind of keep track of things and make sure that I keep track of all my points correctly, we're going to use this little spreadsheet I had at one point. Tried to build myself a spreadsheet for ships the way I had for characters, but then BC Holmes went and created her ship creator, and it's really not as important now to do that. So I'm just going to use it to make things a little more even. So if we just parcel everything out in these systems and divide it evenly, you get 8s. And one of them will actually wind up getting 9. And there are your 49 points, but that's not really what we're out to do. Because it's a hospital ship. Non-combatants, we're going to reduce its weapons down to like a 6. And we're going to put that 9 in computers and not comms. Increase its sensors and its structure. Want to have decent engines because you may need to get to hotspots. I'll be able to communicate both to coordinate things on the ground and talk with any ships you're approaching if you're approaching to offer aid. Good sensors because you got to find those injured life forms. You want decent structure because you want to be fairly steadily intact. So I'm happy enough with this. 8, 9, 8, 9, 9, and 6. Just keep that the weapons really low. All right. So let's get back into Utopia Planitia. And there, we've assigned the system points. Now the department bonuses. Every space frame gets 3 points to put into departments. The rest of the departments are going to come from your mission profile. So, getting back into the spreadsheet, well, it's a hospital ship, so obviously we want to put 1 in medicine. 1 in science would give us good lab, help with our lab capabilities. And I am going to put this last one into engineering because engineering is responsible for maintaining life support. So there are the 3 points for that. You've assigned the department points. We need to give it some talents. Every space frame has talents associated with it. Your mission profile will also have a talent. You have to take the talents that come with the space frame and at least one of the talents from your mission profile. Depending on how many slots you have open, you may be able to choose other talents to fill in the remaining blanks. But we got to give this base talents. So before we go any further, really, let's put the numbers that we've got so far. So there are those. There are those. There are systems in our departments. Talents. Balance is what comes next. So that is, it's a scale 4. All right, so the talents in Utopia Planitia start being listed on page 84. And going through here, this guy right here, Advanced Sickbay, which is found on page 85. That seems like a good thing to have on a hospital ship. A very well-equipped sick bay, larger than normal for a ship this size. So what this does is it gives the ship basically a constant advantage on medicine and biology tasks within that sick bay. So we're going to give it that. Sick bay. All right, and here's one. Dedicated personnel. The ship gains 2 additional crew support, which may only be used to establish supporting characters who are part of that department. So yeah, it's a mostly medical crew. Dedicated personnel. That is incidentally on page 87. Let's see. I think you'll have room for a total of 4 talents. At least one is going to be coming from the mission profile. I think I'm just going to leave that as it is. I think 2 will be sufficient for this. You'll get one from the mission profile, and then the players and the GM can get together and fill in that last slot as they see fit. So, okay, we are done with talents. Next thing up is weapons. It's a medical ship. It's not going to be rolling into combat, but it does need to defend itself, so we are going to give it some weapons. So we are going to give it phaser banks for self-defense, and we're going to give it a tractor beam so that it can catch hold of ships that may be in need of aid, maybe bring them to a stop if they're tumbling around. What are we going to call this? Because I think that's the next step, is coming up with a name for the class. But let's look and see what the book has to say about it. Oh, trait. We could probably come up with some special rules for this, but I have not got anything specific in mind, so I think I'm just going to leave it be. And we should name it. So, it's a hospital ship And I'm one of those guys who liked Enterprise, so we're going to name it after a doctor. It's the Phlox class. Hospital ship. Scale 4. Resistance 4. You wouldn't think I'd been typing for 45 plus years. The way I keep hitting the wrong key, but I have. And that is a stock, off the shelf, straight out of the book, Spaceframe. Usable for whatever you feel like using it for. So I will make this pretty, and I will send it to Michael over at Continuing Mission and get it posted, just as I will do for the next Spaceframe we're going to make. And this is a little closer to something I'm using for my Captain's Log actual play. It is going to be a 32nd century beastie. So let's get back in there for just a minute. And take a look at this table on page 58 again. Now, Utopia Planitia ends at the 25th century. You have a couple of 25th century ships from Picard and Star Trek Online towards the end of the list of space frames. My game happens to be set in the 32nd century. So that makes things a little bit different, because there's nothing here for the 32nd century. And since there's nothing there for the 32nd century, we're going to have to kind of make things up on our own. Hold on just a second. Since we don't have anything concrete about the 32nd century, we got to kind of make things up a little bit. So the first thing we got to do is extrapolate a little and figure out what exactly might be going on. And we can get a little info here and there from things like the Discovery Season 3 character pack. One of the things that was introduced is the Interstitial Multi-Vector Transcomputronic System, IMTEC. And that was put in to help compensate for some number adjustments that had to go in. If you look in Captain's Log, where we've actually got some sample 32nd century ships. If you look at a scale 4 Starship from the 32nd century, in Captain's Log, they've got 39 system points. 39. And we've already discussed this in another video, but the friendship class should probably actually be a scale 3. Aaron seems to think this is a a typo, the scale 4, because it's only got 38 system points, whereas all the scale 4s have 39. But anyway, that's going to be our base, 39 points. When they finally get around to doing this officially, this may change, but we're going to go with that. So what we can do right now is let us create our own little extension to that table. Polity. Year. System points. Time step. And notes. Those are the entries on the table. So let us see here. All right. So we're going to make this the same entry. The year. That is going to require a little bit of extrapolation. Okay, getting back into the Disco character pack. Beginning in the 28th century, the 2700s, starships began to be outfitted with this technology. So we're going to say that that's when the changeover happened. So we're just going to call it the year 2700s, when that transition took place. There are 39 system points on all those scale 4 ships. Time step. Well, starting in the 25th century, refits go from every 10 years to every 50. So we're going to call that, we're going to leave that the same. But I don't feel like messing around with that. Plus 50 years. And they get MTech as part of their design. And we're just going to assume that everybody gets it because there we go. So there's our extension to the table. Now in my captain's log game, we encountered a need for an escort ship. And while we were, so far I've just kind of faked it. I feel I'm going to go ahead and create that escort ship as a space frame. And that way, if I ever wind up needing to use it in a full-fledged STA game instead of captain's log, I will have everything. I will have everything that I need. So let's get back into that spreadsheet. Zero all this out. Okay, so we have established that, not that it makes any difference, but just to remind myself what I'm doing. We determined that as of 2700, it would start with 39 system points. Now, we're going to make this a scale 3 vessel, so it's going to lose 1. So we're at 38 right now. And I am going to say that this is a relatively new ship. They commissioned it, sometime after the burn. I'm going to say they did it sometime after the burn because they needed something to help protect along commercial routes against the Emerald Chain and other piratey type organizations. So let's just say we're going to call it 3108. So that's a little over 400 years after the 2700 line we've created. So that divided by 50 is 8 and change. So you add that to the 38, and that leaves us with 46 system points. Want it to be decently quick. That'd be pretty tough. And we want it to have a high weapons because let's do the first things first. Let's divide this out relatively evenly. Federation ships tend to divide things fairly equally, but they're not totally married to that idea. So let's actually, we're going to take one of those points from sensors back to a 7, and we're going to give that to the weapons. And its main weakness is a relatively weak comm system, we will say. So that gives us, where do we want to put that? Let's put that into the engines. So that raises it to a 9. We're still at 46. That's good. I kind of like where that is going, so we will leave that alone there. All right. So where do we want to put its department points? Well, obviously, I'm going to put one into security because it's an escort and it's going to have to shoot at pirates. I'm going to give one to engineering. And we want to be kind of nimble, so we're going to give the other one to con. So we got bonus points in con, security, and engineering. So there is that. And let's get this written down before we lose track of it. Okay. Escort, scale 3. Launched 3108. All right, so there's that. Let's see. Let's. Okie dokie. All right, so next are talents. So let's get back into Utopia Planitia and look at those talents again. All right. Now we're going to have, once the ship is built with this frame, it's going to have 3 talents. So we can have no more than 2, because one of them has to come from the mission profile. So the ability to target specific systems is kind of a big deal. We are going to give this space frame fast targeting systems. You don't suffer any difficulty increase for targeting specific systems on an enemy ship. There we go. Words hard. Fast targeting. Which is instantly found on page 89 in UP. Also on page 89 is this little guy, improved hull integrity. We wanted her to be a tough little ship. Well, this helps because it increases the ship's resistance by 1. Make that change. Improved hull integrity. And that's all we can do talent-wise for this space frame because it's scale 3 and has to leave room for something from the mission profile. So we are going to call that one a day. Next up is weapons. Laser arrays. Because we can, and because it's way in the future, quantum torpedoes. And of course, it's going to have a tractor beam. right. And because I love Lower Decks, and because he's all about protecting and guiding others, I'm going to call this Shax class escort. So there's that. And that is what we've got. Oh, both of them I should list. For both of the flocks and for the shacks. They're both Federation starships. And the shacks, being a 32nd century vessel, has MTech as one of its traits. But that's all there is to that. And that's building space frames out of Utopia Planitia and Star Trek Adventures. I hope I didn't make it look too complex, because it's not. It's a very simple operation. As I said, I will make those pretty as soon as I can, and I will get them to Michael over at Continuing Mission. I may post them as well in the Facebook group for Star Trek Adventures. And that's it. We're done. That's, like I said, I hope that came off pretty simple. If you care to, go ahead and like the video. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, there. Live long and prosper, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.